Hello there and welcome to this virtual Pharmacy Careers Showcase event with Pharmacy Futures NI. My name is Rebecca McKinney. You may know me from the Cool FM Breakfast Show where I am 1/3 Pete Pallow and Rebecca. I'm absolutely delighted to be joining you today to host this wonderful showcase event. I have to be honest, until recently I had a very limited understanding and idea of the pharmacy sector, but having done some research recently to get a better idea, believe me, it really does offer such a wonderful opportunity for an exciting career right here in Northern Ireland. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'm pleased to be joined by a wide range of pharmacists representing the sector in Northern Ireland. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my first guests, Kathy Harrison and Chris Garland. So Kathy, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's start with a really obvious question. What is a pharmacist and what does that role entail?
So a pharmacist is a healthcare professional who is an expert in medicines. So what that means is they are fully trained in everything about medicines, and that involves from the development of new medicines right through to their testing, through to their prescribing, their supply, and also following up how they're working and how well they're treating the disease that they've been prescribed for. Now, pharmacists are really highly valued within the healthcare system, and there's a huge demand for their skills and expertise at the moment. And they use their particular knowledge in medicines, and they get that really from their scientific background, so they understand really how medicines work in the body, and they use those skills and their expertise within the healthcare system to help patients, to make sure that patients are getting the right medicines to treat their conditions and prevent illness as well. But they also have a really important role in working with other healthcare professionals to advise on the best possible medicine for the disease or the condition that needs to be treated. Now, the reason why pharmacists are in such big demand at the moment, there's a couple of reasons. One is that we have so many amazing developments happening in medicines across the world. So there's fantastic new medicines being developed, lots of new technologies involved, and pharmacists are really at the cutting edge of understanding how those medicines work and how they will combine with all the medicines that are already used. And another reason why they're really in high demand and the role is so interesting is that our population uses a lot of medicines and we're all living longer. When you live to a good age, it means you tend to sort of gather up a few health conditions along the way, and they are usually treated with different medicines. And multiple medicines are quite complex in your care, so pharmacists are really important within our multidisciplinary teams within healthcare in Northern Ireland. And those multidisciplinary teams include pharmacists working with our doctors, our nurses and our other healthcare professionals to care for our patients.
So where might you typically come across a pharmacist? What are the main areas of practice?
So there's lots of different places where pharmacists can work, but the three most common that you will find a pharmacist working in are community pharmacies, and there's over 500 community pharmacies all across Northern Ireland in our villages and towns. And also you'll find pharmacists working in every single general practice in Northern Ireland, and there's over 350 of those, and also in all of our hospitals. So really a good way to think about it is anywhere where there's medicines being prescribed, supplied and used, you're going to find pharmacists.
So they're pretty essential.
They're really essential to good health, and they're really essential to sort of all of our goals in terms of improving the population health. I should say, the roles of pharmacists can change in the different settings that I've described, but there's a sort of a core role that they all have. So I've said they're experts in medicines, so that means they know all about the safe supply of medicines. They also know all about the interactions that might happen between medicines, the types of side effects to look out for in medicines, and so in that way they can provide really up-to-date advice on and provide sort of answers to any concerns that patients might have about their medicines. I've also said in all settings, pharmacists provide really good advice and their expertise supports other healthcare professionals as well. But then if you think about our three big settings that I talked about there, in community pharmacy, our pharmacists really have a critical role. They're really on the front line. And that means they are often the first point of contact that people will have with our healthcare system. So as well as safely supplying medicines, they provide loads of advice on healthy lifestyles and other services Like at the moment, they provide in vaccination services, and they also provide advice on stopping smoking, for example. And then in general practice, our pharmacists support all of their colleagues in terms of medication reviews and safe use of medicines. And in hospital, there's just a huge range of roles where they're very highly clinical roles, where pharmacists will work to support, again, the multidisciplinary team and dealing really these days in hospital with more complex patients.
So it's pretty varied then. What about the areas of research and academia? If you're more into that, is that something that pharmacy you can work with on?
So yes, so for some pharmacists, if they wish to, they can stay on after their degree and perhaps do a PhD, and that really opens up loads of other opportunities. So for example, they may go into research. Now, if you go into research as a pharmacist, you've got a really good chance of getting a job in the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry is we have some world-leading firms based in Northern Ireland. You could may be employed there, but also that industry is global, so there's a lot of really rewarding career opportunities. And the other area is you could stay on in academia, so you could stay on within the university system and go into teaching or lecturing. So there's really lots of great opportunities and great job security as well for pharmacy.
It sounds like there's so much scope for this. Thank you so much. That's a perfect introduction to what a pharmacist entails. Chris, welcome. Lovely to see you. We're going to hear just how attractive pharmacy really is as a career. But why is now a good time to be thinking about pharmacy in particular?
It's a really, really exciting time, Rebecca. As Kathy's just described, we're in the middle of a really transformative period in our health service for how we deliver healthcare. And it's because of our aging population. We have more older people taking more medicine. So the skills and knowledge of pharmacists as medicines experts are really in very, very high demand across all sectors. So there's lots of jobs and lots of opportunities for pharmacists at present. In order to prepare pharmacists for those roles, and Kathy's talked about the increasingly clinical roles, we're now starting to see real reforms to how pharmacists are trained and educated. So what we're seeing now is over the next few years, we will see changes to how the degree course is delivered, with an increasing focus on clinical patient exposure to patients much earlier on in the degree course. And this will help to prepare future pharmacists for these new clinical roles, working with other members of the healthcare team, such as doctors and dentists, and really having that hands-on exposure. So it's a really, really exciting time. There's lots of change, lots of development, and there really never has been a better time to be a pharmacist in Northern Ireland.
So tell me a little bit about post-university, and what is the journey that a pharmacist would expect to go on career-wise in terms of salary, progression, opportunity? Tell me a little bit about what that might look like.
Okay, so typically upon graduation from university, a pharmacist will undertake, first of all, a year's on-the-job training in a community pharmacy or a hospital pharmacy. Typically, that's a paid placement earning around 20,000 or so a year. So upon qualification then, more junior pharmacists will typically earn in the region of 30 to 40,000, and those roles are focused more on gaining experience in a wide range of pharmacy practice settings. So with increasing knowledge, skills and experience, a pharmacist can then typically progress on to more senior roles in clinical practice or in management. Those roles would typically be associated with salaries in the region of 50 to 60,000 a year. But in for some very senior managerial roles, for example, in the health service, typically attract higher salaries again, typically in the region of over 80,000 a year or more.
And in terms of your career, you spent a bit of time away. You're now back in Northern Ireland practicing pharmacy here. So tell me why. What was the draw? What made you come back home?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the time when I first qualified, I've certainly seen the growth in opportunities in Northern Ireland. They certainly weren't maybe there when I was first graduating, but certainly I returned back to Northern Ireland a number of years ago. drawn back by the quality of life here, and certainly the draw of family as well. Of course, it's very, very important. But certainly, attracted by the cost of living and certainly the environment here in Northern Ireland. We're close to the sea, and the scenery is amazing. So, and certainly my experience in terms of the profession here in Northern Ireland, it's that, I mean, we're quite a close-knit profession. And my sense has really been that the leaders of the profession and policymakers and decision makers are so tuned in to the needs of pharmacists on the ground as well. So it's certainly something I haven't regretted for a second.
Well, we're delighted you're back. It's great to have you here. Thank you both so much. It sounds like there's an awful lot of scope for people who want to get involved in pharmacy here in Northern Ireland. Now, moving on to our next guest. Andrew Chung is currently working as a pharmacist in hospital, but also has experience working in the local community. So, Andrew, tell us what an average day looks like for a hospital pharmacist.
So hospital pharmacists can vary depending on where they are working in the hospital. So as a clinical pharmacist myself, I work on the ward directly with patients face to face, and I work alongside and support doctors and nurses. So typically in the mornings, we would start off with a morning meeting where we would discuss patient treatments and also any new patients or patients who need critical care quite urgently. As the medicines expert, a lot of the different professions of healthcare look to pharmacists to guide them about medication safety and the most appropriate medicines for patients. So apart from clinical pharmacists in hospital, the pharmacist's role can vary to dispensary. A lot of junior pharmacists, when they first start off their career in hospital, they would be situated there where they have the opportunity to learn and hone their skills and clinical skills, working alongside more experienced members of the team. And eventually, as you progress to a clinical pharmacist role, you can even progress to a prescriber, where you'd be in charge of running clinics and even go up to a managerial level, where you would be responsible for running an entire department. So the roles are varied and opportunities are vast.
So you mentioned working directly with doctors and lots of other members of the wider hospital team. What is it like being part of that group?
So working in a multidisciplinary group of professionals is fantastic. I actually love it. Apart from doctors and nurses, we work alongside physios, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists. Don't want to leave anybody out. There's a wide variety. And as I've mentioned, being the expert in medicines, my role on the team is to ensure safety of medicines for patients. So it's absolutely brilliant. And just because I'm the only pharmacist on the ward, it doesn't mean I'm working alone. If there's ever a time where I don't know the answer, which is rare, I would look to my other colleagues in the hospital who would have a vast knowledge and different experiences and specialities as well to fall back on. So you're never truly working alone in hospital.
It sounds like you really love your job.
Yeah, it's great.
So you're a member of Pharmacy Forum NI's Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Committee. What encouraged you to take up that role, and is this sector welcoming and inclusive in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, Rebecca, so I decided to become the chair of the committee purely because, well, I was born in Northern Ireland and I am from the Chinese ethnic minority background myself. So I felt initially that we were quite underrepresented, but I feel as the chair I can help improve these things. But it's not just about race and discrimination. We are focused on tackling a wide range of topics, some of which can include gender equality, transgender topics, LGBTQ, amongst a whole load of others that we're planning to tackle in the next coming year. So there is quite a lot that we can get on with, and I think it's very important that we do so, purely to help welcome the next generation of pharmacy colleagues into the sector.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure everybody watching will be totally inspired. Thank you so much for joining us today, and good luck with everything you're doing in the hospital. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to be joined next by Fatima Khan and Roisin O'Hare, who are going to tell us a little more about what it is like studying pharmacy at university. Fatima is currently an undergraduate student and Roisin is a teacher practitioner. Fatima, thank you so much for joining us today. It's lovely to see you. You've taken your first steps into the exciting world of pharmacy at university. What made you decide to study the degree and be here in Northern Ireland?
That's a great question. I get that quite often. I think my journey really started when I was young. I was part of the Girl Guides, so that kind of kicked off my desire to really give back to the community, be a part of the community. And then all throughout school, I've always really been interested in science, specifically learning about the body, learning about like the cells, how they work, things like that. But it wasn't really until I became a pharmacy assistant when I was 17 that I really got a glimpse into what a pharmacist does firsthand. So I was able to see, how they prepare the medications, how they interact with the patient. But I think my favorite aspect of it all was how they were able to build long-term relationships with the patients and really see them through their health journey. And just the trust that they were able to build with the patients was incredible, because oftentimes the patient would come to the pharmacist as the first port of call, because pharmacists are the most accessible healthcare professional. So I think it was the way that the pharmacist was able to help patients with their health, as well as build the relationship and have that trust, that really kind of pushed me to apply to pharmacy school and pursue that as a career.
And you've come from Canada to Belfast. You're studying the course here. How are you finding it? Is there anything in particular that you love, you want to share with us?
Yeah, no, it's been incredible. It's my third year here. I definitely can say that I would call Northern Ireland a second home. Everyone has been so kind to me, and the surroundings are beautiful. I'm up on the north coast, so I get to have the Giant's Causeway, the beaches, and then whenever I want to kind of get a kind of familiar sense of home, I come down to Belfast, and that's like my home away from home, where it's like the city and the Titanic and everything, so just so lovely.
Love that. And the course, anything in particular that you're loving about that? Of course, all of it, but any particular key points?
Definitely, yeah. So I think my favorite aspect of the course is the practical nature of it. So there's different times that we get to do things that are very hands-on. So we've got labs, we have pharmacy practice practicals, where we have a model pharmacy on campus that we can go and do mock counseling, dispensing, things like that, as well as placements, where we actually go into community pharmacies, into the hospital, or even industry, and meet the pharmacists where they're at and see what they do on a daily basis, and then also apply what I've learned in class to real life patients, real life scenarios. So that's been really great as well.
And you literally just did an exam this morning before you came here.
Yes.
I'm sure it's a very demanding degree. How do you balance your time?
It is definitely demanding. We are becoming medicine experts, but I think it's totally manageable. Personally, what I do is I just kind of tackle subjects as they come on week by week, instead of letting them build up. And I think the real key for me has been building a good group of friends whom I can study alongside with. And not only are they there to kind of be like my study buddy, but I can also keep motivated that way. But I think most of all, what's really important is having my hobbies and extracurriculars alongside education, because it is university. I want to make sure that I'm getting both the education, but the experiences that make university what it is. So I love going outdoors, as we were mentioning, so I love going on hikes, things like that. I'm involved with the Students' Union as a course rep, and I work part-time. So I'm able to do all those things and still study, which has been great and has got me here.
So you're a busy lady.
Somewhat, yes.
And for all of the school pupils watching, if you could tell them one thing about why they should be studying pharmacy, what would it be?
I would definitely say if you want to pursue pharmacy, Northern Ireland is the place to be. The schools are some of the best in the UK, and the teaching is excellent. And for me personally, my course size is so small, so you really get to know all the classmates really well, and those are going to be your future colleagues. So what better way to meet your future colleagues than at school? And then the pharmacy community itself is so small and supportive, and I've had that experience when I've gone on placement at community in industry and within the hospital. But I think most of all, pharmacy specifically there's so many avenues that you can pursue with it. If you really love working with people, you can definitely go into hospital pharmacy, community pharmacy, GP. If maybe you're a bit more analytical, then you could go into the government and work in the government or in a pharmaceutical industry. If you're more creative, you could be a copywriter within a pharmaceutical industry, and there's even options to teach and practice at the same time. So you're never limited with what you do, and you can express your other interests that way. And I think most of all, regardless of which avenue you choose, you're always giving back to the community and improving people's lives in some way, shape, or form, and I think that's the most important part.
Well, I think you're going to be an unbelievable pharmacist. Thank you so much, Fatima, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Roisin, thank you so much for joining us. You have quite a unique role as a teacher practitioner. Can you tell us a little bit about what that job actually entails?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so teacher practitioner, so I work as a pharmacist in practice, and my practice is in a hospital environment. So I work with patients, I welcome them to the hospital, we find out what medicines they're taking, we make decisions about what medicines they're going to need while they're with us and for going home. And I also work a great job where I work with undergraduate students as well. So I work across both Ulster University and Queen's University School of Pharmacy, and I teach the students in practice. So they come out to me and to other colleagues across Northern Ireland, and we teach them how to be a pharmacist. So this starts from first year right the way through to their fourth year of their degree, and they get to learn the basics of how to speak to patients, how to find out about their medicines, how to take their medicines better, and also obviously to work with other healthcare professionals. How are they going to do that? So they get to kind of learn on the job and integrate that with the knowledge they're learning at university.
So since you're a lady in the know, can you tell us a little bit about what universities are looking for from prospective students coming into pharmacy, particularly when it comes to grades and subject choices?
Yes, no problem at all. So both universities in Northern Ireland and probably across the UK are all looking for, you have to have chemistry at A level. And then apart from that, one other science subject. So that can be biology, maths or physics. Usually there's also a requirement to have biology at least to GCSE level, so or double award science. So that's something to consider. And then in relation to grades, we're looking for 2 A's and a B in Northern Ireland at both universities. So they are high grades, but it is a fantastic choice for somebody who's interested in science, and particularly those who are interested in chemistry.
Amazing. So I know you're very involved in making sure the degree course is really current and relevant and aligns with the life of a modern day pharmacist. So can you tell us a little bit about that and everything that you're doing to make that work?
No problem, yes. Well, basically, I think it's quite an exciting time for pharmacy. Pharmacy is evolving enormously really at the moment actually, and we're going to be developing prescribers, so that's going to be a big thing for the course of pharmacy. So you're going to graduate as a pharmacist and be a prescribing pharmacist at the same time, which usually is something that takes a little bit longer to happen after you graduate. So what that means is our undergraduates are going to have a lot of time in practice in a hospital environment, in community pharmacy and in GP practices where a lot of pharmacists are working, and they will spend a lot of time with patients. They'll spend a lot of time with other healthcare professional colleagues making decisions to improve patients' outcomes. So to make patients feel better, to make sure that we maximise their medicines that they're taking, and to find out really what problems patients are having with their medicines. So it's a really exciting time for us to make sure that we move away from spending so much time at university and with books and spend a lot more time with patients and really learning what we can do to make things better for them. So
loads of practical experience.
yes,
That
basically.
sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us that insight into your totally unique job. I'm sure everybody watching in school has really enjoyed that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Our final two guests today are Mark Briers and Rebecca Maguire, someone I know very well from various other walks of life like fashion stuff. Rebecca works closely with the public as a community pharmacist, and Mark is a pharmacist in a GP practice in Northern Ireland. So, Mark, you have decided to go into an area of pharmacy that has really emerged over the past couple of years. For those of you who maybe aren't aware that pharmacists can work in a GP surgery setting, tell us a little bit about what your role entails.
Well, in a basic day, what I would get up to, it'd be mostly hospital letters and checking out the acute prescription list. I would action all the hospital letters first, so that involves going through their discharge letters and making sure their medication adds up against what they're currently on the GP system. There'll of course be a couple of changes, and you want to action that and make sure that the drugs they are going to be prescribed are appropriate for the indication and that they're cost effective. And we would follow a Northern Ireland formulary, and this gives us just a bit of guidance, like what would be the top line drug, what would be the second line. After that, I would go through the acute prescription list. So that involves just reauthorising any drugs that are currently on people's records.
So you're keeping it in the family. I
Yes,
believe your
keep it in the
mum,
family.
she also works in a GP surgery pharmacy sector. So was that a massive influence in your life growing up that you wanted to follow in your mum's footsteps into this career?
Definitely. Well, growing up, I always listened to her speak so passionately about her career, and she always was very positive about it and wanted to progress not just herself, but pharmacy as a whole. I would often like visiting her in the chemist, and I'd be wondering sort of what's all these drugs about and what is it you get up to. But she always wanted me to sort of find my own way through pharmacy, so she always said, go down a path that's going to make you happy. So I started off in community, and then when I seen the job come up in GP surgery, I thought, well, there's a new challenge, so I'll jump to that.
And you love it.
And I love it, I have to say.
So what is the most rewarding thing about being a pharmacist for you?
Well, whatever sector you're in, I always think it's pleasing to help patients. At the end of the day, you want to have a positive outcome on their life. And whether it is a bit of counselling or they're just asking a bit of queries about personal issues, it's nice to be able to calm them down and give them a bit of positive reinforcement that what they're doing is right, or to give them a bit of advice about anything it is that they need.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely to
Yes,
hear a
no
little bit of
bother.
an insight into your job. And you two know each other, don't you?
Yes.
You went
Yes,
to
we're the
university
same year.
together. And I know Rebecca in other lives. I normally see you
Yes.
strutting your stuff on a catwalk in one of my fashion shows. But when people traditionally think of a pharmacist, they think of someone in a white coat in their local pharmacy. And that is you. They walk in and see you doing that job. So tell us a little bit about being a community pharmacist.
Well, we don't wear white coats anymore, as far as I know.
Are you as glam as this?
Well, maybe not the heels. This is just for today, Rebecca. But being a community pharmacist to me is so rewarding. I'm so passionate about my career. You know, I have a lot of other things that I do, including the modelling. I own my own business. You know, former Miss Ireland, and you know, I've always said that pharmacy is my #1 priority. The thing about being a community pharmacist to me is I get to interact and help everyone in my local community. And, you know, when the pandemic hit, it was, you know, just life-changing for everyone. And the thing that got me through it is that I know that I was there for everyone, you know, in my local community to help them. And now, actually, one of my main roles is that I give out COVID vaccines, which is like such an amazing achievement for community pharmacy to be able to assist in the rollout. And I just feel, you know, so passionate about helping my community, you know, get out of this terrible situation that we have been in. So very proud to be a community pharmacist.
Well, we're delighted to have you here today after a day of administering the vaccine. I know that you've mentioned a couple of your passions outside of pharmacy, but do you feel like this role and this particular career choice allows you sufficient time to be able to explore all of those different avenues and get that good work-life balance?
Well, I would probably be a perfect example of someone who wants it all, and who tries to juggle a lot in my life. I'm very lucky that with community pharmacy and the pharmacy that I work for, my boss is very flexible for me, and knows how much that I do outside of work. So, you know, you do have that flexibility in community pharmacy, I find. So at the minute I actually work part-time. I work 4 days a week, and that allows me to pursue my other interests and other things that I like to do. So I've just always juggled my crazy life, and you know, pharmacy is very fast-paced, and you know, it takes a certain type of person, you know, to deal with that, but at the same time it's very rewarding, so it's worth it.
You're a great role model, and there'll be lots of girls in school watching this now thinking, if Rebecca can do it all, then you're something really to look towards. If you could say anything to them right now about picking a career in pharmacy and why they should do it, what would you say?
I would say that you have to be very dedicated. It is a hard course, and it's not an easy job. You do have a lot of responsibility, but if you are interested in doing, you know, something medical, you know, I toyed with the idea of doing medicine and also maybe dentistry, nursing, etc. And I feel that pharmacy was just the right choice for me. So if you're thinking about a career in pharmacy, I'm always available to answer any questions. If you want to follow me on Instagram at Rebecca
Love it.
McGuire,
Always
you can
a
do
plug.
that.
Do it.
And you know, just if you feel it's right for you, just go for it. And if it's meant for you, it won't pass you by.
I love that. Thank you so much to the two of you for sharing your experiences and being here with us today, and good luck with everything you're moving forward to do.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Wow, I am just blown away by how much there is going on in pharmacy right here in Northern Ireland. I'd nearly be tempted to go back to school and repick my own A-levels. if I was any good at science. I want to express my thanks again for our fantastic guests that have joined me in the studio today. I really enjoyed hearing about the life of pharmacists in Northern Ireland. And to you guys watching online, thank you for tuning in as well. I hope you found today useful and it has helped inform some of your decisions going forward. We certainly covered a lot today, but if you would like further information, you can also visit pharmacyfuturesni.com, where you'll find some other useful resources. Thank you and good luck.